In this video, we're going to be looking at the digestive structures that we can see on this flat green board. So this is showing mainly just digestive system structures. So starting up at the oral cavity, okay, all of this region here fills up mostly with the muscle here, your tongue. So as your teeth break apart the food, mix it with saliva, the tongue kind of repacks it in order for you to swallow that bolus. That's going to continue down till we go through the esophagus, this muscular tube, till we get to the stomach. And then from the stomach, it's going to stay there a couple hours, mixed with your stomach acid, and then it's going to go to your intestines. Okay? And your intestines, small intestines, is where the main process of digestion is taking place. So the enzymes are breaking apart the chemical bonds. So we'll talk about the different parts of the intestines. This is all the small intestine through here. And then you have your large intestine kind of wrapping around through here till we end out the other side. Then on the right, you're gonna have the liver tucked underneath. You have the gallbladder. And then kind of underneath the stomach over here, this is the pancreas through there. So looking back at the stomach, we have three parts. Kind of main regions to know, we have the fundus, the body, and the pylorus. One way I used to remember that, you have a fun body pile, okay? And then on the inside, we have what's called the lesser curvature, kind of this smaller curve. Outside is referred to as the greater curvature through there. And then we can actually take this piece off and we can see on the inside, whenever you don't have food in there, it's gonna be folded up and you're gonna have these ridges called rugae. That's what all of these are here. As it fills with food, it's gonna stretch a little bit and look a little more flat. So you won't see as many rugae. You have a similar kind of appearance on the inside of the bladder as well. So the sphincter up here, this one had lots of names, either called the cardiac sphincter, or it could also be called the gastroesophageal sphincter. There's a condition called GERD, which is gastroesophageal reflux disease, where that doesn't close all the way, allowing stomach acid to go up into your esophagus. Or another name is the lower esophageal sphincter. You do have a smaller sphincter kind of at the beginning, upper esophageal, so that has to relax in order to start the swallowing process. This one has to relax to kind of finish, allowing that to go into the stomach. On the other side of the stomach, so we have the pylorus, and then we have the pyloric sphincter through there. From there, that's going to lead into the first part of the small intestine called the duodenum, or duodenum, however you want to pronounce that. The second part of the small intestine is called the jejunum. So I would put the arrow somewhere like around here. It's kind of mixing around there, and then it's transitioning to become the ileum. So ileum, what you can look for is it's leading into the large intestine. And again, ileum is specifically for the third part of the small intestine. So large intestine, the different parts. First part here is the cecum. This means like a blind pouch. It's kind of like a cul-de-sac coming in here. So the structure that controls the entry of food into there is called the ileocecal valve. Again, it's like a sphincter. Attached to the cecum is this lymph tissue called the appendix, kind of hanging off there. So from the cecum, the large intestine, this next portion, the colon, we have the ascending colon. So we go across is when it's called the transverse colon. We go down is the descending colon. And as it kind of wraps around and hooks a little bit, that's when it's the sigmoid colon. So it's like the very end of that. And then where it becomes straight is when it's called the rectum. Okay, typically you're not going to have any material in there until like a defecation reflex occurs. Kind of as there's strong muscular contractions that occur over the colon, that's going to push material into the rectum, and that's going to activate a reflex. So you have the rectum. At the end is the anal canal or the anus. And around there, we're going to have two sets of sphincter muscles. So both of these on either side are called the internal anal sphincter. Let me get a little bit closer so you can kind of see. It's right there, there, and there. These ones over here are the external anal sphincters. The internal anal sphincters are made up of smooth muscle. External are made up of skeletal muscle. So you have conscious control of these, or you can. It takes you a couple years to learn that. And that's how you're going to be able to control when a bowel movement occurs. Or like a colonoscopy is whenever they need to investigate, make sure the cells making up the colon are healthy. So they'll have to go back through this way, kind of investigate through the colon. There's another procedure where if they need to look at like the beginning of the GI tract, it'll go into the esophagus, the stomach, and the duodenum there. All right, looking at the parts of the liver. Again, we have the lobes, two main lobes. We've got the right lobe, the left lobe. Under here was the gallbladder. And so the tube that drains the gallbladder of bile is the cystic duct. This small one that's draining just the liver is the common hepatic duct. And then when these two merge, they're going to fuse another common point. Running all the way down is the common bile duct. So it's getting bile from two sources. Okay, whenever you eat, the sphincter controlling that is going to relax, allowing bile to drain into the duodenum. Or, whenever food moves into the duodenum specifically, not just after you eat. But whenever there's not food there, this is going to stay constricted. So as the liver cells make bile, it's going to be coming down here, but it's not allowed to go anywhere, so it gets kind of pushed back and then redirected to the cystic duct to be able to be stored in the gallbladder. You can also survive without your gallbladder. Okay, it doesn't make the bile, it just stores it. It allows you to have a nice concentrated release of it anytime there's food going in there. But if they remove it, you're still going to have bile coming directly from the liver, just not in as high amounts. Okay, and then looking at the pancreas. So we can kind of, if we take the transverse colon off, we're going to see more of the parts of the pancreas. We have the head. Again, the head's closest to the duodenum. We have the body, and then we have the tail over here, close to the spleen. And then this fishbone looking thing in the middle is representing the pancreatic duct. And that's going to enter the duodenum at the same place as this common bile duct. And whenever food gets in the duodenum, there's a whole series of hormones that are released. That's going to allow the secretion of the bile and then those enzymes that are necessary to break down your proteins, your fats, your sugars, nucleic acids. Also has a lot of bicarbonate to help neutralize the acid material coming from your stomach through there. Okay, so I think those are going to be all the structures to know looking at this green board.